Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of Spotlight on Security Tech Insights. My name is Shelly Calhoun-Jones, and I'm a principal technologist here at Cohesity. And today we're joined by Shane Coleman from Cyera. Shane, would you like to do an introduction?
Yeah, welcome everybody. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite. I'm Shane Coleman. I'm the Chief Data Security Evangelist here at Cyera.
Shane, I'm very excited to have you, and I think we're really covering a timely topic right now. In this episode, we're going to take a look at data security posture management, because in today's data-driven world, safeguarding your data is more challenging than ever. So we're going to take a look at some of the fundamental principles of a DSPM. We're going to take a look at some different strategies for integrating it into existing security solutions, because for a lot of us, we have a diverse security ecosystem, so we want to make sure that we have that integration in place, and also take a look at how the transformation can really help with a organization's approach to security, especially with threats like ransomware. Shane, how would you describe a data security posture management solution, and how does it differ from traditional data security?
Yeah, listen, I love this is the foundational question that everyone asks, right? Versus the alternative. What is a DSPM? Well, so think about it like this. A DSPM, it's a modern approach to attacking that age-old problem. Data security protection, it's not new. We've been trying to deal with this issue for quite some time. Now, a DSPM, it leverages modern AI and automation, and it aids in these organizations as they start to locate, evaluate, and then shield their critical data. And it's regardless of where the data resides, like it could be on premise, it could be in the cloud, whatever your ecosystem. Now, unlike traditional approaches that typically use a lot of manual effort, siloed tools, there's a lack of cohesion and consolidation and understanding of your data as it moves and drifts into organizations or other locations. DSPMs attack this problem directly with a cohesive API, modern based approach to data security and protection.
No, that's a great way to describe it. I've worked in different security roles, and I know how challenging it is, just to have full access to all of your different security tools. So anything that we can do to help simplify that is going to be even better. Now, what are some of the key components which make up a DSPM solution?
Yeah, so Shelly, what's interesting is I'm going to quote a really nice article from Cyera's 2024 Data Security Posture Management Report. It's a very, do a little bit of marketing there, but it's actually very interesting because they do a fantastic job of talking about the core capabilities of a DSPM, and they include real-time data monitoring, they include data discovery, and they include data classification. So those are the basic frameworks of any DSPM. Now, more advanced DSPMs or data security platforms like Cyera, they start to strengthen that core data security posture management capability. It starts to leverage that modern architecture that uses generative AI, machine learning, semantic classification, and even pattern matching in an unsupervised way that allows our customers to get timely results and scales very well with actionable insights that you can start to address very, very quickly. We use the example days to weeks versus years to decades. And that's what we're bringing, the value of a platform like that into.
Oh, that's great. Now, for a lot of companies out there, you may be running workloads across multiple clouds. You may have workloads that are still on-prem. You could have experienced yourself, a merger or an acquisition, and you're bringing on a new environment that you're also managing or supporting or maintaining. How would a DSPM work within that type of ecosystem? How would they be able to go out and identify sensitive data within this diverse ecosystem?
Yeah, listen, this is another great question, and it's one that we spend a lot of time talking about because everyone's ecosystem is different.
Yep.
Some organizations have very large structured data sets in the cloud plus on premise. Some have many file shares on premise plus use SaaS in the cloud, right? So
Right.
while everyone's different, there's some cornerstones that are important. And let's talk about those friction points because at the
Hmm.
end of the day, there's always alternatives, but time and value are key and critical, right? So the first one is how hard is it to connect to the environment, right? Just to activate the platform. When you're talking about on-premise for a modern DSPM, it's all about native REST APIs and least permissions that allow
Right.
you to orchestrate very quickly. And again, what excites me about Cyera is that platform does a very solid job of going out and connecting to all those dispersed ecosystems, building out the environment that's required to perform the data scanning in a secure way. Now, when we talk about on-premise, it's a little bit different story, right? You can't use APIs in a lot of these approaches, so many organizations are left with on-premise active scanning techniques or agents. Cyera's approach, and I think a great modern DSPM example, is leverage the capabilities of your SaaS platform and all of the efficiencies and value there, but allow the on-premise to be an extension of that discovery and scanning and
Very
classification.
cool.
So we use something to the effect of our Cyera connector, which will go out and extend that value into the cloud as we scan those on-premise environments.
Very cool. No, that's great. I know for a lot of companies, they don't want to install yet another agent
Right,
on their
right.
system. So
Well,
that's really cool.
and when it's on premise, there's other factors in play, like an active scan does impact the environment. How do you do that as efficiently, effectively as possible? Agents just seem to be a non-starter for so many organizations. They don't want another agent, right? So,
Right.
so if you can go out and uncover and identify environments on premise, but you still have the power of that wonderful magical AI engine that is built that leverages AI semantic classification, you're able to take advantage of all that. The friction is still much less than the alternative on premise. And then combined with API connectivity in the cloud, you make quick work of discovering and classifying and applying risk to all of your data.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question for you is how can you resolve issues automatically? And I think you may have just really answered that, trying to
Well, we
figure
could
out.
double down on that, right? Like
Yeah.
it's really, so what's interesting is what I didn't talk about is we're missing that key middle components, right?
Mhm.
Identifying sensitive data. The first part is connecting to those environments in a
Right.
frictionless way, right? We need to connect quickly. We don't want to put a lot of manual effort. We don't want to have to build out all these connectivity ACLs and then remove them after we're done scanning. Like that's problematic for most organizations. And imagine having a lot of accounts having
Yeah.
to connect to those manually. I mean, we have customers with over 4,000 accounts just in certain modern cloud architectures. Can you imagine the amount of effort, the amount of data stores under each one of those accounts to try to connect manually and perform scanning and disconnect? So modern DSPMs that can take that approach are key. But the second part is what gets really exciting.
Mhm.
Many of us in the industry have to deal with what we call manual tuning of classifications, right? So we live in a world where a credit card is not the same. A customer credit card would probably be more on my elevated purview of I need to go address that more quickly if it were exposed than an employee credit card, right? Just to give an example.
Yeah.
Now, so context is everything. Is it an employee? Is it a customer? What's the residency of that data? Is that individual, is there an address in Europe, right? And it's sitting in the United States. That's something I need to flag. Is the data synthetic? Is it real? Is it
Right.
encrypted? Is it in plain text? All of this contextual elements, just the strong patterns themselves, like a credit card or social security number, can really help us remove all of those, false positives where it's really not, certainly it's a credit card, but did it matter? Was it material to my organization? That's key because we want to remove the noise. A great DSPM is going to remove the noise to allow you to take action more effectively. Now, the other piece that I didn't talk about are the weak patterns. Think about a recipe, a quarterly
Yeah.
briefing report. Those things are just as important and critical to the business. But in many cases, it requires a lot of people, even with certain technologies, to go out and tune those classifications. And let's face it, the more tuning I do, the more error I could provide for false positives as well. So there's this constant need to tune. Modern DSPMs don't require that. They use, again, that AI, that ML, pattern matching, semantic classification motion to start to find these data classifications, even though they're weak patterns, and start applying records once they build those classifications out. I mean, I've personally seen savings where customers have told us, you've taken something that was told by us it was going to take a decade to deliver, and you delivered it in weeks to months. Like, that's a powerful story as you start thinking about time to value. If I can find actionable insights in days and weeks or a month versus 10 years on the extreme side, that's powerful. And we're dealing in billions of records. So that's the first piece as we talk about remediation. It's all about good intel. Now, the easier part, and this is less AI and probably more orchestration and automation, but once I know where those data sets fall outside your risk tolerance zones, now I start taking on that data very, very quickly. Our customers, what we're seeing, they're very good at identifying metrics. You can tell
Hmm.
many of these have had projects that may not have been successful in the past, and so they have an idea of their outcome and what they want. And I hear customers all the time say, "How fast are you?" Right? So we're measured against all of our alternatives on speed,
Hmm.
on scale, what precision is automatically, and the friction to activate and the friction to operationalize and classify policies. And I think we all, if we've lived in this world for enough, we all realize those are fantastic metrics as you start considering which approach you want to take. And so that's where DSPMs can really help provide that advantage. I'll give you a great example of a very recent risk reduction that a customer had. So certainly I can't give the name, but I can give the outcome, which is
Yeah.
this particular customer had a risk tolerance threshold that they thought they had transferred over to their cyber policy. And as we
Hmm.
all know that, there's certain exclusions to those policies based on your data and the risk that is in your environment. And what we were able to very quickly determine is we actually found data that was outside of your risk tolerance zones. And we very quickly took action on that data and brought their risk tolerance zones back into what they call a manageable state. And so that was very exciting for us because we're talking about doing that in less than 2 months, right? From the time we connected, discovered, classified, and took action on the data. Now, I know that may sound like a lot or a little, depending on your experience, but think about looking at billions of records, hundreds of thousands of data stores. It's absolute magic. It's
That
absolute
is
magic.
incredible. Yeah. I mean, just imagine 5 to 10 years, this process may have needed to be done manually.
I
That's gonna
lived
be
in
a,
this.
you know,
I lived in this
it's
world.
gonna be a
Yeah, I
project.
lived in that world. It was absolutely challenging, and you pull your hair out, right? No one
Yeah.
wakes up in the morning and says, "I want to go classify data." By the way, if someone does have that love of classifying data, please connect with me. We have a job for you, but it's super super challenging for most customers because there's an outcome to
Right. Yeah. No, it's kind of like compliance. It's a dreaded word, but it
that.
needs to be done.
Right? Absolutely, absolutely.
No, that's great. So it sounds like you work with a lot of customers over at Cyera, Shane. Have you had any other instances where it may have helped reduce the risk of a data breach or
Oh
perhaps a
yeah.
threat
Gosh, I
within
have
the
I have
environment?
so many, and certainly if you go to our website, we have a list of all the customers that we're proudly showing as well. So I won't give any names there, but we've had situations where reducing that data attack surface, like we're talking billions of records,
Hmm.
we're talking tens to close to hundreds of petabytes of data, structured and unstructured across multiple
Wow.
environments. We discovered, we scanned. Then, from a process perspective, it's funny, most people like to talk about fully automated remediation. And at the end of the day, once we find this, there's a hold on. I think we want to have maybe an automated workflow where we're tracking this and performing a function where we can go back and review. So most of our customers want that process in place.
Oh, that's
One,
great. Do you use
yeah,
step functions like AWS step functions where you have like an automated workflow of like lambdas that go out and do a
we we will typically, what we do is integrate in many cases. What our customers are looking for us to do is integrate with low code, no code
Oh,
situations.
very
So for
cool.
things,
That's
think
great.
of like your Tines, your Torque, your Workato, those types of environments. But what's interesting is when you look at the outcome, being able to find that data quickly, this customer is very interested in reducing risk and staying in compliance. What was funny is they actually approached us and said, "Hey, you saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in cloud
Excellent.
costs by just reducing those billions of records that we didn't need." I mean, it's funny. We always talk about the data that's most critical.
Hmm.
No one ever talks about the data that doesn't matter. And many people are shocked at the amount of data that's sitting in their environment that you could get rid of, that is cluttering up, increasing costs, and it's increasing your data attack surface. It's something that's very easily manageable. We always think about the most important data, but it's that data that doesn't matter, we'd like to get rid of.
You bring up a really good point there, Shane, because I know that with Cohesity, a lot of our customers are in a kind of a similar predicament where they have a diverse array of different workloads that they need to back up, and they're also looking for ways that they can save money. And so, like, we have that deduplication feature within our backup and recovery products, and it's nice to see that we're also doing that on the security side of the house with DSPM. Which kind of leads to a really good question. How would a DSPM help with backup and recovery? Because I would imagine that you have a lot of customers that
I
are running.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, this is one of my most exciting partnerships is with Cohesity. When you think about operational resiliency, and again, I think we all can remember those old days. I mean, I got enough gray hair where you could probably, if I talk to a few folks, they'll understand. We actually had recovery scenarios where we would take
Yeah,
our environments offline and bring them back, and we checked how long it would take and did the data work, and how long was it mean time to recover. But when you think about this, and again, going back to my experiences, I remember we never really understood where all of our data was. And I always remember, like, oh, we forgot to restore this one, or this one is restoring like in that tier 2 or 3 scenario, and it probably should have been restored first, right?
yeah,
And so this all went back to the fact that we didn't know where our data was. We didn't know how important it was. And we didn't know, again, how it related to operational resiliency. One of the things I love about this partnership with Cohesity is our platform feeds Cohesity, Helix platform, very, very quickly to know the relevance of all of those data stores. So there may be some data stores you back up twice a day. There may be some that, again, knowing this information now and having that rich data, customers that are leveraging the Cohesity platform can decide prioritization of backup, as well as understanding this is my most critical data. I want to restore that first versus other sets. So to me, it's not just about how do I reduce costs tied to backing up data that's important, that's to what data that's not important, but how do I improve resiliency? And seconds matter when you get
that's
back online, right?
that's a really good point. Everybody's going to have a different recovery point, recovery time objective, and especially depending on the workload, you may have a particular workload that you're backing up hourly versus another workload which could get backed up once a day or once a week. So
Yep.
no, I really like that point. That's a really good point there, Shane. And also, just kind of looking at my notes here, the fact that we're not only looking for ways to minimize risk, but we can also use this information for additional security intelligence. So, real excited about this integration that we've rolled out with you at Cyera. I think it's going to be a great product that a lot of customers can get great use out of. Just for the rest of the audience, if you're interested in checking out that new integration, you can either activate this feature within the Cohesity Security Center, or you can go out to the Cohesity Marketplace, and we have documentation and information on how you can get access to this wonderful integration. Sayer, or excuse me, Shane, are there any other key takeaways that you would like to kind of give to the audience?
No, listen, I would say this, we are excited in the value that we're showing to our customers, both mutually and exclusively. And if you have an interest, if you're struggling with those friction points around discovering, classifying, providing action, we're really excited to share the value that we've given not only our current customers, but what we could give to you. So feel free to reach out to Cyera as well, Cyera.io.
Oh, no, definitely. And we'll make sure to include some links out to your website in on the YouTube channel as well. And also for the rest of the audience, you can go out there to find case studies and more about the partnership with Cohesity. Shane, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And this wraps up another episode of Cohesity Spotlight on Security Tech Insights. Thanks for watching, everyone.